Hello and welcome to the Monday Night Review Cat's Whiskers podcast. My name is Tina Taylor, and already the first mistake of the night. There was supposed to be an introduction there, but unfortunately I forgot to press the right button. So anyway, it is Monday the 27th of February 2017. Yes, you are listening to the Cat's Whiskers podcast. We are going to talk about the weekend's games just gone versus Sheffield and Belfast. We've got some fans' thoughts that we'll be going through, and probably going to be a little bit of discussion from those, and we'll also round off with a little bit of Elite League news and other results that have happened while we were busy getting no points, basically. And with me to talk about all of that is Paul Balm.
Hello.
And Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Hello. My name is Latan. I win trophies.
Yeah, so just so this isn't out of context, Ant didn't actually make it to any Panthers games this weekend because he was busy going to watch a team that has actually won something this weekend. So how was that for you, Ant?
Oh, it was bloody brilliant. But I'll tell you what, I know we'll come to the game in a bit, but I really wasn't fussed about missing this Sunday's game because I've seen, 3 games at home against them, which have all been turgid. I've seen a game away against them in January, which has been turgid. So I was like, I can't be bothered to watch the same old. And typically, look what happened.
I know, yes, controversy and excitement in equal measures.
Something
apparently.
happened?
It might have done. It might have done. We might even be talking about it soon. We will come back to that in a moment.
Some people will be talking about it in 15 years.
So we'll come back to that in a moment, but we will start off with we'll do it in order because it seems a reasonable thing to do. The Nottingham Panthers went up the M1 to take on the Sheffield Steelers at Sheffield Arena. Unfortunately, didn't manage to get much out of it, with the Steelers skating away with a 4-2 victory. Second period was the first hint of any scoring. That man Matthew Waugh opening it up 31 seconds into the second period, followed up by Jonathan Phillips and new boy Walker. The third period saw a little bit of a Panthers resurgence in the form of Rob Lakovic and David Clark. Unfortunately, though, after pulling the netminder for the extra skater, we could not find a way to stop Jonathan Phillips, rounding it off with an empty net goal, again yet to make it 4-2. So I believe at the very least, obviously, none of us went to the game. There was no webcast, so we're all sort of relying on highlights. So, Ant, I'll come to you first. Based on the highlights, obviously, what were your thoughts on the game as a whole?
Well, I thought the linesman was right to rule out the offside goal. I thought Gabbiadini... we're not talking about the football, are we?
We're not talking about the football,
right,
Ando.
okay.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to bring yourself down from the red rafters and get yourself back into a black and gold mindset, mate.
Sorry. Football fan mentality, obviously. I'm going to go and beat up the next door neighbour now. What can you say? I mean, I was away on Saturday anyway, so I really struggled to keep tabs on the game. I sort of joined in and saw it was 3-0 to them. I went, oh, okay. Normal service resumed. And then I saw the final score and I was like, oh, so we did do something in the third period then. So I had no idea about what had happened during the game until I seen the highlights. It looked like a pretty average game, if I'm honest. Panthers just not quite good enough. Steelers turned up when they had to. I think there was a couple of disputed decisions, shall we say. That Nicky for getting chucked out was an absolute joke. Especially when you see the Steve Lee penalty later on. It's like that was Bush League, and you can understand why he's upset. But it's upsetting to lose to them, especially since we played so well against Cardiff on the Tuesday night. And I don't know quite know what our forwards were doing for their empty netter. They just seemed so close to closing, so slow closing Phillips down that he had all the time in the world to just loop that in. Whether they just ran out of steam or not because they've been on for a long shift, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I must admit that empty netter was a little bit of a head scratcher. I don't know if this was sort of tongue in cheek because I sort of failed to investigate that really. But there were a few tweets that I saw on my timeline that people were saying that we pulled the netminder and forgot to put the extra skater on. Yeah, as I say, don't know whether that was tongue in cheek or not, or whether that actually happened. So yeah, that bit of an odd one overall. But obviously we've only got the highlights to go on. Paul, anything to add to that at all?
Not really. I mean, for the first time of two, the third period killed us. Well, I mean, I say first time. It's been happening frankly, it's been happening for years. It's all right, saying, the team came back well in the third period. I mean, we'll get onto this when we're talking about the Belfast game. It's all right saying, the team played well in the third period, nearly brought it back, or this, that, and the other. Well, don't fall asleep in the second, or maybe we didn't fall asleep, but the teams that we are supposed to be competing with are just better than us and can just turn it on when we can't.
Yes, so it seems reasonable, really. Ant's already mentioned it, but we'll touch on the controversial incident in the game. All sorts of tweets ranging from the sublime to the ridiculous. Of yes, Nicky Forrick deserved the ejection from the game, and then at the other end of the scale, you've got people saying that like Ant has just mentioned that Stevie Lee's boarding was probably more deserving than Nicky Forrick's was, and just to sort of focus on that particular incident. What's your thoughts on on the actual penalty itself?
It's not even a penalty for me. He's made good contact against the ball. The Steelers play, if you watch it, similar to that one that Brown got done for, the Steelers play is already going down. But the difference with the Brown one is Nicky Forrick's already making the hit before, he can't pull out of that. At no point can he pull out of that. It's a normal contact against the boards for me. And it, you know what? And tongue in cheek, I pointed to Tomo's comments from a previous game when he says, maybe we need to start diving to get these calls. But that's, for me, it's another example. I mean, there's nothing. The player, I understand the player came back on afterwards, so he went off crying wolf and then came back on again a couple of minutes later. It's Bush League, but then we got off quite easily could have had that Stevie Lee go. I think the 2 minutes was probably right, but I have seen them given as game penalties against, for us as well with the Steelers. I seem to remember one of them taking out Jordan Fox in a game a few years ago as well. So, what goes around comes around and all that, but that's two dodgy calls in my eyes that we've had at the arena where we've ended up losing a player. It's disappointing.
Anything to add on that, Paul?
Not really. I mean, we're always going to say, aren't we, that we thought it was, or maybe we're not, given what we're talking about. But was it a 5+ game? Not for me. No, but I'm going to say that, aren't I?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be interesting. We have had some fans' thoughts. I was kind of hoping that somebody might, really focus in on that particular incident. So we could maybe sort of gauge it, because obviously with all of us looking at the highlights only, it's sort of it just feels a bit disjointed when you're watching highlights for me. So it would have been nice just to have got a bit of thought. So and I mean, as we are live, if anybody does want to sort of make any comment in our general direction regarding the game in general, I suppose, in Sheffield, given that none of us were there and that particular incident, then let's if you want to get in touch, best way to do it, if you do it on Twitter at Cats Whiskers TV, and if you catch us before we finish, then we'll obviously read that out. Okay, so I don't think there's much more we can say about the Sheffield game. We didn't get any points. It was a very unsuccessful trip up the M1. So we came home.
Congratulations to everybody who won the huge 50-50 prize, though, by the way. That's I don't blame him for being anonymous, to be fair. 14 grand in your pocket from a night at the hockey is not bad.
Yeah, I'm going to say they were only anonymous for about 2 hours, weren't they?
Yeah. Have they actually come out and said who it was now?
Well,
sorry,
I think
they tweeted a picture of them same night.
Sorry, I was away. You've
not mentioned
I'm not sat on Twitter. I was with my mates having a few beers.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did sort of look at that with a fair bit of jealousy because that would have paid for my kitchen and then some. So that's still
they do have
going
to take
on.
the wheelbarrow back though afterwards.
I know. Heaven
don't
forbid
get the wheelbarrow thrown in.
Yeah, heaven forbid you might steal Tony Smith's wheelbarrow. So we're going to move on to Sunday's game now. As myself and Paul were both at the game, I am going to hand over to Ant so that he can host this particular part. And if you've heard or seen anything, Ant, obviously feel free to chip in.
Okay, so Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored a couple of goals.
You're really not going to let that go, are you?
Hey, we've won a bloody trophy. It's fantastic. Anyway, let's move on because this isn't a football show. So Sunday night or Sunday afternoon saw the Belfast Giants make their final trip of the regular season to Nottingham, skating away with a 4-3 win. David Clark put in the Panthers 1-0 up with a nice finish, continuing his good form since he's come back from injury. Belfast then scoring 3 without reply. That man Blair Riley, who I keep banging on about being top class, he got the first with Matt Toe and James Demarais, making it 3-1 to Belfast. Matt Carter, with a nice little move, pulled it back to 3-2 before Steve Saviano made it 4-2, with Chris Lawrence getting a tip on a Stevie Lee blast to make it 4-3. No further scoring with that after Panthers pulled the netminder as well. But away from the scoring, obviously we've hinted at it. I'm thinking the game may probably be known more for a couple of incidents that took place. Now I've seen the highlights, so I've actually seen the entire incident rather than just a little clip of it. But guys, the Robert Farmer thing, you were there in the arena. Anybody jump in at this point? What were your initial thoughts before we actually talk about what you've now seen on the videos? Paul,
when I saw it, my immediate reaction was, what's he done that for? It was bad. I mean, we've just been talking about, we would say that Nicky Foruck's penalty was never a 5+ game, but I'm sorry, that was a game or whatever match or whatever it was he got all night, and I get a feeling he'll be sat down for a while. I mean, so some of the things I've seen said so far, well, should we say they're a bit of an over exaggeration, but he deserves a ban for that.
Tina?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those incidents that you sort of go, and you've just got that sharp intake of breath, and you just don't know whether it's safe to actually let that sharp intake of breath back out again. It's unfortunately it is completely indefensible. It's so out of character for Robert Farmer as well. I mean, he's niggly. Don't get me wrong. He's the kind of guy. He's normally on he's normally not on the receiving end of being wound up like that. He's normally the one dishing it out, and obviously, he couldn't take it. So he's the red mist has descended. He's gone and cross-checked Rutherford, and personally, I think that there's a certain amount of the height differential that has played against him, and Robert Farmer obviously intends to cross-check Rutherford. The stick is there. But there's a bit of a height difference which has kind of played against him. I really don't want to sound like I am defending what Farmer has done, because you can't. You just cannot do that. And I would definitely expect a lengthy ban. And to be honest, I think I would probably be a little bit embarrassed if the Panthers tried to appeal it, because again, as I've said, it is completely indefensible. You know, there's a little bit of winding up on Rutherford's part, but it's niggly stuff. It's what he's kind of becoming known for. You know, whatever Rutherford may have done, you know, in his playing career, or you know, even you know, in his playing career in the Elite League, doesn't deserve a stick to the face. But again, it's just so out of character for Farmer to just go at somebody like that. You know, he does that pushing and shoving. You know, and he gets those little digs in after the whistle, but that's normally exactly what they are, little digs. He doesn't go for people like that. So you know, his previous record may speak, you know, to Dop's, you know, mercy side. I don't know, but I fully expect a lengthy ban. I think he'll probably be lucky to feature at playoffs. I think it's that severe, unfortunately.
Well, at least he won't get injured. Yeah, but having said that, no, now there is one positive that we can take from this, and I don't think, you know, we could talk about it all night, but you know, I think we've pretty much covered it. But there is one positive we can take from it. Barry Nyker has now got some company in the hearts and minds of all the Belfast Giants fans.
Oh, that's an interesting sort of place to be, if you ask me. Yeah, it's gruesome, unfortunately.
Apart from that, I didn't think much of the game at all. I've seen people saying it was an awesome, brilliant game, well, this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, but for me, an awesome and brilliant game doesn't include one of the teams coasting for 20 minutes. And again, second period, we let him score 3 goals second night running, and that's what killed us. You know, we had a good try, you know, final period, but we just can't keep doing it. Sorry, it's deja vu all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, that's how it feels, you know. We've got. I mean, you've got Nielsen. I mean, I know this comes up in the comments. You've got Nielsen saying, you know, there are a lot of positives to take. You know that. Well, losing twice in a weekend, that's building towards the playoff. That's gaining you momentum, isn't it? Anybody?
I was waiting for Ant to come back in. This is his little section.
Well, no, because I mean, obviously, you guys were actually at the game, and you've seen a lot more of it for me. But I mean, yeah, from what you see on the highlights, it doesn't sound like, and what people have told me, it doesn't sound like that we were too bad in the first period. And if anything, we were a bit unlucky to go in 1-1. But then, you know, I don't know what it is, because every time I've seen Belfast this year, I've not thought that they were that good, but they're obviously better than us because they keep beating us. I'm not that's hard with this team at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I'll just give my 2 penneth, if you like, on the Farmer thing. I think, Tina, you've got it bang on. I think there is a severe amount of winding up going on beforehand. I mean, there's no need to kick players. I mean, there is a potential slew footing thing in there. I know that's only an in-game thing, but to me, Farmer knows exactly. I don't think Farmer knows what he's doing until after he's done it. At that point, you sort of see his reaction. He's almost like, bugger, I didn't mean to do that.
What have I just done?
Yeah. And for me, you know, this is Dops after all, so it could be anything between a slap on the wrist to 25 games. I mean, I think he'd be looking at a minimum 5 games for me.
Yeah. I think somewhere around that, but it's Dobbs, so who knows?
Yeah, it's like, let's spin the wheel of fortune and see what happens. And but then Rutherford carried on, though, didn't he? He came back into the game as well, so it wasn't like he was out of the game, albeit with a bit of a cut on his. You've seen the pictures of him afterwards, and he looks a bit of a mess, but so on and so forth. But other than that, McGrattan versus Vandermeer. Not seen a McGrattan fight since December, and typically he decides to drop the gloves when I'm not there. Gets an instigator penalty for it, which, you know, is fair enough for me. He started the altercation. But thoughts, guys? I mean, was it the hit for me is a really clean hit, and it's a really good hit. But it's nice to see both Brown and McGrattan saying, "Hey, like fair enough, that was a good hit, but you can't do that to our little guys."
Well, the funny thing...
I think so.
Go on, sorry, Paul.
I think you're right, and I think part of it as well is that, and this is, and that's the fact that McGrattan. I mean, Brown was trying to call him out, and McGrattan just didn't bother. He just said, "Well, we're going to fight anyway." It is in stark contrast to what happened to Rutherford. No, I mean, right, the officials got Farmer out of the way pretty quickly, but nobody was interested in in taking him on. Maybe it's because they're smarter than we were and got the penalty. But part of it as well, we were 2-1 down at that point, I think. So maybe McGrattan thought, yeah, I mean there was nothing wrong with that hit at all. But maybe he just thought, let's try and get a bit of momentum, just try and get a swing in momentum.
Do you think it was worth the instigator call? Do you think that was the right call?
Well, I mean, yes, he did instigate it, but I don't like the instigator penalty. So
I don't think anybody does, to be fair.
No, there's not a lot of people who do like the instigator penalty, but it exists, unfortunately. Yeah. And if it's deserving, then it should be. I mean, for me personally, that was probably the clearest cut instigator I've seen this season.
So on the flip side, then Stevie Lee gets into a scrap with, I can't remember who the Belfast player was.
Quinnell.
Actually.
I believe it was Quinnell.
Was it Quinnell? Yeah. And then, but that all comes out of a little altercation between Quinnell and Dan Spang. So, Tina, to you, should there have been an instigator call on that little scrap?
I think it was a lot less clear cut. McGrattan comes in straight. Like Paul says, Jeff Brown's busy. Just having a discussion with Vandermeer about whether or not they're going to go after Vandermeer's made the one of the loveliest, cleanest checks I've ever seen. But it's on one of our little guys. So McGrattan just dispensed with the pleasantries and went, "I don't care what Jeff Brown says, we're going, son." But yeah, I think it was a little bit less clear cut. I mean, given Stevie Lee's history and the concussions that he's suffered, I don't know, I was a little bit nervous about it. You could see it coming, and to the letter of the law, it could possibly have deserved an instigator, but I think it wasn't like Lee didn't see it coming. It wasn't like there was no warning or build up to it. I think. You could argue a case for both ways, whereas with McGrattan, there's absolutely no way you could argue that didn't deserve an instigator. We all despise it. It's well documented in many podcasts that we've done that we all despise the instigator rule. But if you're gonna call the game as you're supposed to, using all the rules that are in the rule book, McGrattan deserved an instigator. Not, as I say, not as clear cut for me on Quinnell, but you could argue it. You could argue that it warranted one, definitely.
Okay, so unless we've got anything more to say on that game, we shall move on. Anybody?
Clark's goal was a belter.
Oh God, it was.
It was. I mean, if I'd been Matt Davis, I'd been writing the word trademark down while everybody was using doing the Chelsea dagger. Except me, yeah. I don't do the Chelsea dagger. So it has to be a very big goal for me to do the Chelsea dagger, because it was a trademark Clark goal.
Classic Clarky.
First times it. Sorry.
Classic Clarky.
Classic, just rips it top corner. Murphy had no chance, but. So that first 10-15 minutes, I thought we were pretty bright, and then second period, it just looked like we were coasting for me. So I really don't understand why people were saying it was a awesome game, but each to their own.
It had the makings of a good game with the way it started, and then the second period just turned into a typical Panthers second period. It was just a bit mundane, and I can't think of a better word to use, but complacent. It was almost like we thought, we've had a really good first period, and we can just sort of build on. We can just sit back on that, and then
lackluster.
Yeah, possibly.
Nonchalant.
Yeah, that's probably.
Some of the passing, some of the I mean, I forget which. I think it was Belfast's second goal was created from just a lazy, half-hearted pass from Spang that didn't reach didn't get anywhere near reaching its intended spot, and they just picked it up, went in and scored. I could be wrong. It could have been their first. It could have been the third. Probably nodded off by that point. It was the second. It was the one Tao scored.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okie dokie. Thank you very much, and I shall take the reins back from you while we move on to some fans' thoughts. Thank you very much for getting in touch, those of you that have. Just before I do sort of launch into this, there's one or two of you that sent some comments in, but they also sort of qualified as TCW questions, so I've sort of put them in the back pocket for Wednesday. So if I sort of cut off the bits that you thought you sent in, they're coming later. Don't worry. Right. So for top of the shop was John, which is at _ Asbo _ he simply says farmer, no comment. So Tom Smith.
It's good you're waiting, doesn't it? This would be very short.
I don't think that's really where our skill lies. Really, I don't think we were allowed or inclined to be quite so. What's the word? Concise.
Brief.
Yeah, that as well. Tom Smith at Ovalicious, I believe he's a Belfast fan. He says, I thought you lot were pretty solid for the majority. 2 bad penalties, probably the difference. Which, that's a Belfast fan's view of the game. So thank you very much for your thoughts on that. It's always nice to see how the other side see it. Lee Sims at Lebo Sims says losing 11 out of 15 since the Continental Cup is not the sign of a developing team. Why does Nielsen talk such rubbish? And I would imagine that is in reference to the Nottingham Post article that has. That's been out from Matt Davies recently. What would you guys say about that?
For me, we've been out of the title race since October. So for me, I'd be looking from Nielsen to try different things at different parts in the game. Try different systems and what have you. So in that way, we are developing because we're putting things that you can only normally do in practice, in these games, and these are against teams like Belfast, Sheffield, Cardiff, etc. That they still have a lot to play for. They're still within a chance of winning the league. So that why not give these new systems a go? See if we get any success from them. I don't know whether you think similar, Paul, or you just think I'm talking a load of rubbish.
Yeah. Well, what do I say now?
Be nice.
I think. Me? Nice. I think it was obvious that first 10-15 minutes that we were trying something different. We were sort of buzzing around Murphy's nets. I thought maybe we were just trying a style that we thought might work on Murphy, because he does tend to cough rebounds up the middle of the slot sometimes. But we've been told since that what it was, Nielsen trying something out, particularly with the playoffs in mind. But the thing is, we did it for 15 minutes and then we stopped. So why did we stop? It wasn't exactly. It wasn't. If we had a better set of forwards than we've got now, we could have been 3 or 4 goals to the good that period. We had. We had some fair periods of pressure where we really, we should have got something out of it, but didn't for one reason or another. Are we developing? Well, let's face it. It's like say we're giving ourselves enough chance because we're able to.
Yes. So it's an interesting article. Matt always writes some good articles, so if you get yourself following Matt Davies from the Evening Post, if you're not already on Twitter, you can get a bit of insight into the club. back to the fans' thoughts. John Bettridge at Panthers Ice 65. He says it's clear Panthers prioritise ticket and shirt sales over a serious league challenge. Good cup side, but treat fans as a cash cow. I suppose the only caveat to that for me would be the fact that the only cup we've really got left to play for is the playoffs. So not as good a cup side as we have seen in the past, I would say. David at Tex Peffy says from the Panthers, head coach Corey Nielsen happy with the progress for playoffs. How he's losing both games progress. I suppose that's
oh, good old Dave.
it's a valid point. For a headline. A headline such as that, only the coach knows what progress is being made, I suppose. So hopefully, we see a bit of progress in the coming weeks.
We have made a big thing about momentum, and building momentum towards the playoffs. Well, obviously, we think the playoffs is downhill, because the only way we're going to build up any momentum is by freewheeling downhill the way we were playing second period.
Well, we're still not guaranteed our spot in the final 8 yet.
No, but apparently we are guaranteed that we can't win the league.
Yes, apparently so.
Yeah, quite how you think you're going to win friends by just telling people that. I don't know, but hey, that's social media for you.
Yeah, each to their own. Panthers 6233 Sam, he says, after my past few trips to Sheffield have all been losses, I avoided going Saturday and wisely saved money. But you could have won the 50-50, Sam. What were you thinking? I have to say, just as a side note, I can see where Sam's coming from, having not actually been to Sheffield Arena since the Challenge Cup final last season. So I empathise with your position there, Sam. And finally, Lee Constable 191. He says we were it sort of stretches out over a few tweets. He says we were very unfortunate to come out with 0 points. We definitely deserved at least overtime in both games. Sunday's game was probably the most entertaining game we've had this season. It had everything. It sounds like Farmer let himself down though. I was at both games, but blinked and missed the Farmer Rutherford incident. Saw Farmer chucked and Rutherford bleeding, which is a bit of an unfortunate time to be blinking, unfortunately, Lee, because that's the incident that will probably warrant the most attention in the game.
You know what about that incident? If that had been on Kevin Noble, 9 of the other 10 teams in this league would be nominating Robert Farmer for end of season awards. They sign that, they would be giving him knighthoods and everything because some people deserve it.
Oh, that's very controversial.
I don't care. It's
tweet at Marty Powers for that one. Right. So, anything else? Anything you wanted to pick out from the fans' thoughts before we round off the Elite League results and news, gentlemen?
I think I've pretty much said all I want to say about them. I don't know if fans got anything to add.
No.
Jolly good. Okay, right. Yep. So, other Elite League results and news. While we were recording the Ask TCW last week, the Steelers and the Capitals were having a little game down at I would imagine at Ice Sheffield. That's very remiss of me that I don't know for sure. The Steelers came away with a 5-2 victory. Fast forward to Saturday, the Giants, before they came over to see us, gave the Flyers a little bit of a thrashing. So it was a 7-2 win over at the SSE Arena. The Clan managed to seal the Gardiner Conference trophy with Saturday's win over the Stars.
Good T-shirts are still available.
Yeah, T-shirts are available. Do you know what, Clan?
Yeah.
You enjoy that trophy. The Devils absolutely walloped the Blaze at Ice Arena Wales 8-0. That's a scoreline that Ice Arena Wales has seen more than once this season. The Capitals managed to turn their disappointment around from Wednesday by beating the Storm 5-2. into Sunday, and the Blaze took their frustrations out on the Storm and took a shootout victory away. It's very tight down the bottom of the table, so all points are absolutely crucial. The Capitals came very, very close to getting one over the Devils, but the Devils took an overtime victory to make it 3-2 up at Murrayfield. And the Flyers, those Flyers, Steelers went to Fife Ice Arena, and the Flyers took the 2 points with a 6-3 victory. So the Steelers didn't get it all their way this weekend. So yeah, just to reiterate again, yeah, congratulations to the Bray clan for sealing the Gardiner Conference, and that'll get you a decent seeding for playoffs. Well, they won something.
Well, I suppose it's that.
They won something.
but I'm sorry, but trophies that you buy yourself don't count.
Hey, don't worry. Don't worry, because that trophy is very important. The conference trophy is very important. You ask any Panthers fan and any non-Panthers fan who tries to tell us we didn't get a Grand Slam. Anyway, we're going to leave that one there.
We did because we won the Gardner Conference that year.
Yeah,
because we got more points. We got more points against Gardner Conference teams than anybody else in that conference.
And that was pointed out to us by a Steelers fan. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bullard.
Yeah, and who told her? Who told her, do you think? It was me.
Oh, wow. Well, she advertised it for us. Any advertising is good advertising. Finally, unless I have missed something, the Flyers have launched an appeal of Justin Fox's 5-game suspension for high sticking. So we will see where that comes out. And I imagine that because they launched that appeal, that made him free to play this weekend while the appeal is being considered. Thoughts on that one, guys? Have either of you seen the incident?
It's yeah. I mean, it's not a it's not going to be a highlight moment for anybody. But again, the whole thing for me comes down to the consistency of inconsistency, or inconsistency of consistency. How is that 5 games when climbing into the crowd to have a go at somebody's only 3? We see far too much inconsistency. You get to the point where you can't take DOPS seriously. No two things seem to be given the same sort of ban, and they seem to have things about face for me.
Yeah. Anything to add on that, Ant?
I don't think it's worth 5 games, nowhere near 5 games. Yes, it is a penalty. Yes, it is a high stick. Yes, there should be a ban. But if that's anything more than 2 games, I think he's been done, to be fair. So I expect that appeal to... Well, knowing how the DOPS appeal system works, like with a previous season with Cardiff, I expect that to be reduced.
Yeah, well, we shall... We shall see how that unravels. Right. Anything else that you guys would like to throw open to the table for discussion?
We could talk about Zlatan again if you want.
And on that bombshell, I would just like to remind everybody that Ask TCW is happening on Wednesday live at 8:45 as per usual. And
I was going to say something.
Go on then.
I was going to talk about Cardiff.
Okay.
It's got a lovely castle. You were saying they had a bit of a wobble at Murrayfield, but they ground out the result.
They certainly did.
That's the sort of thing that champions elect do. They fight back against adversity, or maybe it's that just unlike us, they don't give teams insurmountable leads in the second period, and then we can look good trying to win it back. And sorry, our Sertic got man of the match. Frankly, after he skied that miss right at the end, I really don't know. But but so yes, I had a tweet talking about Cardiff from a Cardiff fan, Kenwyn Jones, who said he was hoping Panthers would have done them a favour last night. You've got a lot to learn, Kenwyn.
Yeah,
you've
you've
never rely on the Nottingham Panthers for anything.
Right, yes, and on that bombshell, I'll just remind everybody, Ask TCW is happening on Wednesday live at 8:45 as usual, and we would like you to send in your questions. You can get us via Twitter at Cats Whiskers TV. We have a Facebook page for the Cats Whiskers, a dedicated thread on the Cage Forum, and we have an email address, so you can use any of those mediums to communicate with us, get your questions in. It looks like it may very well be a bumper panel on Wednesday, so we may very well have a lot of opinions and an awful lot to talk about, so get the kettle on before you start listening, get comfy, because we may very well be there for a while. But all that remains for me to say is thank you very, very much to Paul Balm.
It's all right.
To Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Goodbye, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much to you guys for listening, and I've been Tina Taylor, and this has been the Cats Whiskers podcast.
And Southampton were robbed.